Hello everyone and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. Today we have an all-France match as I'm playing, well, as the French, as my buddy Lowing does the same, although it's a little more usual for him. This is a pretty big map, but 2v2 does make that a little bit better, so my intention was to move forward to Alpha, hold here, and move forward to Foxtrot and hopefully be able to push my opponents out of the end of that zone, while Lowing is able to concentrate entirely on Bravo, and hopefully pushing through toward the east side of Delta and maybe in those woods up north as well as time goes on. So we find there are, it looks like, East Germans coming after us, and DHS Mi-24Ps are very deadly, especially in a group of two with pretty wonderful AA missiles, and those are going to get put to good use again. So really heavy use of helicopters in the early game. Maybe a little bit cheesy, but you know, such is life. And my paratroopers are able to get a little bit out of dodge, which was nice. I wasn't expecting that, but you know, sometimes it happens. In the meantime, I'm unloading all my infantry, and I lose a couple of VABs, but I now have Mistrals online, and of course, well, both the first two missiles do miss. In the meantime, over on the eastern side, Lowing is not seeing any resistance quite yet, heading into Bravo, so let's take a look in here, and finally the Mistrals have one hit, it looks like, a little bit of explosion damage on the second DHS, but we've taken a lot of hurt for that little minimal reward. It's enough to scare off the helicopters, but I was really hoping that Mistrals, because remember, that first volley was when they were calm, they weren't panicked yet, would have been able to get at least one helicopter in, you know, what was that, 4 to 6 shots. In the meantime, however, my ally Lowing has gotten Rafale up, and this is just to discourage a little bit of early bomber or other sort of air offensive from our opponents, which is quite nice. I have a Milan team in the Ford Woods, Commandos Para, and a VAB, along with air defense and another VAB in the center. It's pretty lightly defended, and I've had that come back to bite me before, but we'll see how it goes. And there is a bomber coming in, so VBL Mistral opening up. The other Mistral should open up soon, but he does get through, taken down by the Rafale, and my AMX-40 goes down. Still, probably a valuable trade for us, as the AMX-40 at 80 points versus that bomber, well, maybe about even then. VBL Mistral shoots and is unfortunately taken down by even more helicopters, and now we have the Finnish arriving with KRKKs. A lot of frag rounds going off there, but they get a little too close, and Commando Marines have a wonderful anti-tank weapon. I also cycled the Commando Marines back to get them out of the line of fire there, as more Legion 90 open up, but now I have Kartaniekri to deal with, and that's going to be a problem. These guys are excellent shock infantry, 15 strength. They're meant to chew through enemy shock infantry, much like Commando Marines are, and that's going to be a problem. However, on the eastern side, Lowing has found basically no resistance. The far side of Bravo was pretty much uncontested, so he's moving forward on that side. Well, could have been moving forward a little bit more, but we're very much getting a little bit 2v1'd here just at the start, but you know, that's how it goes sometimes, and you just kind of have to make do and hope that your ally takes full advantage of that. So Commando Marine are now going to be supported by Legion 90 moving up into the closer building, Mistrals taking that position in the rear of that zone, and we have a tank. It's going to be a problem. However, the Legion and Commando Marines are able to finally grind down these Kartaniekri just a little bit, and I have Commandos Para headed through the woods to try to deal with that strong point. In the meantime, an AMX-10 scout vehicle has gotten through, but there's something headed over toward it, and my Puma Pirates trying to be a distraction, admittedly, but they get taken down a little bit sooner than I would have liked, and yep, there's Motschützen 90 and SPZs headed over to deal with the AMX, so I retreat him, trying to save as many lives as I can here, and I probably should have retreated the Commando Marine, but, you know, not everything works out all the time in that regard. So we have another plane, no. Yes, Rafale is coming in here, and now Lowing has pushed up, finally taking these woods as well, and that's a pretty good launching off point for attacking Delta, so I was feeling pretty okay with the idea that we might be able to get some use out of that position. Commando Marine just barely holding on, Legion also just barely holding on, taking repeated tank shots. AMX-13s moving up to provide fire support against the Kartaniekri, and I have reinforcing chasseurs that are trying to provide, if nothing else, additional targets to be shot at in this fight. Somehow my Commando Marine are holding on with one man each left in that squad. Vabs also now giving fire support, finally taking down a squad of Kartaniekri, and we'll see what we can do as the chasseurs get up into that other building. We're losing Legion 90, but here come the Commandos Para, and this is what we all want to see. Let's see, that's one LRAC, down goes an AA piece, and unfortunately the tank does turn, so that's frontal armor, not rear armor, so it only took 2 points and then 1 point of damage. with that hit, and somehow my Commando Marine have survived, so I was very happy about this. Saves quite a lot of value, and if I can heal them, that's good as well. AMX-10 does go down, getting only one single SPZ for it, which is not a good trade, but the KPZ tank, I mean, chewed through a Commando Spera, but it's not going to be enough to survive, and that 120-point tank goes down. So that gets us a little bit more return compared to the early pummeling that we took, and meanwhile, the French offensive into Delta is proceeding apace, I would say. I wouldn't say it's necessarily too successful, but it's at least it exists, which is nice. Vehicles mostly leading the charge. There should have been infantry up there as well, but there might have been, and I just didn't notice. It's quite possible. We have a tank engagement going on here, and that RCSB is not going to be great for that if that tank is anything other than a scout vehicle, and sure enough, down he goes. In the meantime, my Commandos Para were taken out by, you guessed it, DHS Mi-24P helicopters. So that's really been the bane of our existence here, and it looks like the French over in my allies' side of things are also finally pushed back. Entendard going in for a little bit of an ambitious bombing run and doesn't get to drop before he's taken down, probably by anti-air infantry would be my guess. And now things are settling a little bit into the mid-game. Mistral's opening up, finally taking down one of those guys. Both of you should have already been dead. Such is life. However, we do have a +1 ticking points advantage here, as Bravo has been capped, Alpha has been capped, Foxtrot has not yet been capped by either us or our opponents, and the hold on Bravo is pretty difficult, so Hawk Bomber coming in, and that's going to become a persistent thing. Very nice bomber for Finland, very capable, and unfortunately for this VBL Mistral, well, actually fortunately for the Mistral, not very accurate. Rafale comes in and the Hawk gets out. But the overall game plan here is, okay, we had a hard fight in Fox. I'm sort of trying to recover. I have logistics vehicles trying to heal this Commando Marine and Chasseurs. But we have a forward position in Bravo, so we'll just hold it. And if we can countercap Foxtrot, we should be able to get a +1. Now, the danger here is that Delta is it's held by a really token force. So if there's any big push through the woods, I would have a little bit of trouble, but I don't think... So after the first engagement, you can sometimes get a sense as for, where your opponent's force is, what they're going to be pushing next, and as of this moment, I wasn't really expecting an attack right down the pipe. It seemed like at least the East German player was relatively more cautious, using those helicopters to back up his front lines, which means if I don't see the helicopters, then the front line isn't that much closer. Does that make sense, really? It's kind of like, I should be able to spot his helos, and his helos will be behind his front line. Therefore, they tell me a little bit about where that front line would be. Now, that's not always true, but, well, it seemed a good enough assumption for the time. Jet Ranger coming over, and this VBL Mistral, still panicked from taking some incoming fire and just sitting right next to some burning woods, is going to try to get that kill, but it's actually pathed manually into the fire and takes a point of damage, which I thought was hilarious at the time. Just one of those weird sort of goofy, I guess that happened type deals. But now we've lost visual on the recon helo, and that's going to be that. So the French are going to be forced fighting this game. And my intention here was to make use of the Superior Legion 90, as well as Chasseurs and Vabs, to try to run around the western flank of Foxtrot and make it really hard to dislodge from this direction. And also, if you're threatened over here, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to push through in this region of the woods too, because as soon as you do that, and as soon as it becomes apparent that's where your troops are, this flank collapses, right? So if there was a big push through here, my immediate response would be, okay, we're going to try to take the town here, push into Foxtrot. If nothing else, that distracts the enemy while letting me sort of rebuild my forces and try to do something about the incoming offensive. So we do also have a Tiger Had just sitting kind of behind our own front lines, much like an enemy does with those DHSs. And the Jet Ranger is coming in, finally getting in range of the VBL Mistral. Let's see what he can do. One shot, down he goes, and that's a quad stack of KRKKs, which is just hilarious. I mean, so many infantry in those, and both of the shots off the AMXs miss, but that one does not, and there is a nice firing concave here as the AMXs start to go down. Well, KRKKs start to go down, rather. And Kartenjägeri are basically hopping out at maybe 2/3 strength, 10 or 11 it looks like. immediately taking bullets from Commandos Para, and there are still a lot of them, but that much tank fire is going to be a problem. So I am moving Legion 90 and Commandos Para in now to Foxtrot, hoping to get some good work done there. And I did have a VAB, I was able to take out, I think, a vehicle over on this side. And my intention is just, okay, well, if they're going to give me this town, I'll take the town. And Commando Marines are more than capable of chewing through a light infantry garrison here. Not that I even really saw one. It's also a good way of avoiding ATGM fire if you're trying to cross the center zone. Now we do have some bombers coming in, Avia 18 being taken down, which is a really valuable hit there. It's a quite expensive and quite competent bomber. F-18C coming in as well. Pretty far forward for an ASF, but I mean, that's how life is sometimes. In the meantime, however, the helicopters are making a reappearance, and this is going to be a bit of a problem, as I don't really have the tools that far forward to handle them. My Mistrals are still back here. My VBL Mistral was taken down, and Commandos Para aren't able to chew through that much strength that quickly. In the meantime, however, the KHSs are going to be spotting the Commando Marine when they start shooting with those Milans, and yeah, rocket pods right to the face. So I'm trying to get out of dodge here. I'm trying to become hidden. I should have moved backward, but I moved to the side, and I just basically got lucky there that they're hidden for just a half second. The French, however, taking advantage of the Finnish losses here, are moving forward, this time with infantry and VABs to the woods, trying to get superiority there, as usually a failed push is a nice time to counterattack. But KHSs, I mean, they've now shot my Legion as well, and it's a rough situation over on the western side of the map. So let's take a look at this. T-55M Maddie, one of the, I think it's actually the heaviest tank that Finland can take in a motorized deck. So I think this was a Finnish motorized deck we're playing against. Kartanjäkri, of course, in a Finnish motorized deck means there's going to be droves of them, and more than you could ever reasonably fight in a fair infantry grind. And now we have reinforcements coming in from East Germany. That's infantry and SPW-80s, very fast. Very, very nice response, honestly, and they're going to be moving up spotting while the KHS does the killing. So I should have had something here. I'm just now getting a roll in 3. I'm trying to push him forward, but the range versus helicopters, 2,800 meters is good, but it's not phenomenal. It's not like the South African version that has 3325. And we have more Maddies in the woods, this time taken down by a forward ATGM team, but unfortunately Aloing gets a little bomber happy there and loses another one. So Entendeur is being used for that sort of thing. It's pretty common when he and I play. And now I'm just trying to smoke this position. I want to block line of sight from those helicopters while I move up a couple distraction AMXs and just try to get out of this bad situation. But I really should have just immediately gone all the way back, gotten back in the woods. I thought I could hold it though, because towns are usually bad for helicopters to be close to. But Stormpioneer are just spotting, and KHSs get the job done. Entendeur coming in again, trying to shell, well, I guess bomb this whole section into submission, but that's really not the right use for it, and F-18C gets real revenge. Pretty quickly, what you want to do for that is you want to smoke, and then you want, you want some sort of big artillery to come in there and stun everything, right? AMX-13 is shooting as a Flatcom Strela, which, 45 points only, but still, that would have been a nice kill, and I'm not sure we're going to be able to get it, but AMX-40 is trying to punish this KPZ, and the 40 is the 80-point tank, has a pretty decent gun, 19 AP, 9 rounds per minute. The real weakness here is the front armor. It's not great. We do, however, also spot the enemy CV. A single ATGM goes in. Let's see. Nope. Swing and a miss. And the Kartanjäkri are not going to have that for very long, as they're opening fire now against those ATGM teams. And I am finally getting some Legion and VABs up toward the enemy base in Echo. Unfortunately, the VABs are into a Jet Ranger, and while they will be able to kill it, that sort of tips our hand there. So now the enemy knows there's something in the back base, and if it's VABs, there's probably infantry as well. Legion still fighting the good fight, taking down some SPWs. Not the worst considering the damage they've dealt to infantry and some vehicles in this, but now there's LSTR, and those elite training LSTR are not going to be giving me much time. So Roland 3 does open up, down goes one of the 24Ps, and this really annoyed me. It was just on the edge of 2,800 meter range, so I wasn't able to get that third shot right in a row. And let's see what we can do now, and we have another chance. Nope, swing and a miss, and now he's out of range. So we should have gotten both there, but weren't quite able to do it. Hawk Bomber coming in, and let's take a look at that. Down go the remainder of those chasseurs. ATGM Milan teams do not want to get out in the open where Kartanjäkri will shoot them all in quickly, but Legion 90 are moving forward, and I think that was another scout helicopter that they just killed. Might have been... No, actually, we did get into the enemy artillery, which is quite nice, briefly capturing their FOB, which is I mean, it's never phenomenal, but it is kind of funny, I would say. And the ATGM team is nothing if not persistent, as an Avia 28 big bomber comes in again, trying to clear these woods. And I think the frontal armor here was just too high, so 11 frontal armor on 150 point command tank really goes to show. I mean, those have value. If that was the 110 point vehicle, he would have been dead and dusted already. So this was something we should have taken advantage of a little bit better, as all these reserves get called in. Probably a relatively expensive helicopter as well, and they're looking for the Legion in the back. That's usually the time to push, but I was just trying to use it to recover, so getting more chasseurs and VTT up to the front, trying to get a replacement, as I did lose my Roland to a seed plane, and trying to sort of pad things out just a little bit more on Foxtrot, because I still didn't feel comfortable there. Another double squad of 24Ps, and I mean, this is getting ridiculous. But the Legion 90 actually get in a couple of good licks there, so the FAMAS opening up, and I think dealing 4 points, yeah, 4 points total to both of those, and another seed plane coming in, but I think it killed one Roland. There's still another one, won't be for very much longer, unless we can take care of that. Whew. And we are starting to get into the mid-game grind, so I'm smoking up this position because there were some tanks there previously I didn't want shooting at me. I'm also moving up a Mistral, trying to increase my anti-helicopter range to dissuade those 24Ps from getting in any other good work. The Legion 90 still here in the back, and they unfortunately both missed their first shot with the Erixes, and let's see about the second one. We do finally get it, and that looks like some sort of tank. Probably a Maddie, judging by the previous deployment, so about a 50-point kill right there. Of course, each of these are 25, so that in and of itself does make it a worthwhile gambit, even if it wasn't a better tank, and it might well have been. But now, unfortunately, there is a recon helo. I mean, it's flying past it, but the Legion are still spotted, and those musties... Oh, never mind. Oh, I hope these guys had troops in them. A little hard to tell. They might have, might not have. Musties are available, of course, as a single vehicle unit in finished decks as well. And I've done that before. It's just 10 points, recoilless rifle vehicle spam. It's kind of funny, but eight units of infantry coming to kill us, and it doesn't really even... Oh no, that was 4 infantry, 4 vehicles. Probably the Finnish player then. Probably Karten Jäkeri. Another quad stack of KTs up here, and I mean, this is kind of highlighting that the quad stack doesn't tend to have too much more success than 1 or 2 put together. So yeah, you know, sometimes they can bowl through incoming enemy fire, but not usually worth it, right? Because you'll lose whole units just getting through there, and then they won't make up their value in isolated positions. So LSTR are still up here in the corner. This is kind of what I expected, given that they pushed me out on that side, and we are now finally being countercapped. So we went from a +2, which we'd held for a while, down to a +1. I do now have some artillery up, and I'm trying to just get a nice and kind of hilarious kill on those resupply helicopters, which we do manage. So, I mean, hey, at least they won't still be in use. My opponent will have to buy new ones if he wants them. It's okay. I do lose another scout helicopter, which is getting to be a little bit annoying, and I'm trying to get a firing concave on the LSTR. So chasseurs, VABs, and I mean, that was the right decision, moving them away. So I am also trying to get a Mistral up. I thought if I could get them maybe to the western corner of the woods there, I might be able to get a shot, but then if these guys move back around to the eastern side, then they won't be, and Mistrals will be badly positioned on either end, right? So a little bit of a tough situation there. F-18C coming in again. Ooh, what is he going for? Oh, is that the seed plane? That might have been. My apologies for that one. I'm not really too used to East German units as of yet. And it does get a little bit too close and get taken. No. He was going after Tiger Had. Yeah, he was going after the Tiger. Should not have gone after the Tiger. So Rafale called out. Probably should have been evac'd already once its target was gone, but you know, sometimes it's an easy thing to forget. SPW-7's moving into the woods, and my chasseurs were trying to make it to the town, but LSTR are going to move back and intercept. And in the meantime, I don't realize it at the moment, but these guys, I think, had troops in them. So that is going to be a problem, as I don't have all that much here. I have chasseurs, and AMX, and Mistrals. But Mistrals aren't infantry-to-infantry fighting. They also can't really take out vehicles. So they do start to get shot by those SPW-70s and the SPW-80s. And it's enough, right? I mean, it's not the biggest guns on those things, but I can't get my shot off on the 24P. And, well, Mistrals are fragile and expensive. So one of them goes down right there. And I think now over on the eastern side, Lowing's going to be taking a different tack. So we have single units of Legion and Mistrals, but pounding this corner of Delta hasn't really been working. I wasn't quite sure why he hadn't maybe tried to go in here, so Smoke, so if you have this position, right, which he did, instead of going forward into the town, hold that position. Well, let me pause while we do this. Hold this position, smoke the inner woods here, and then try to move across, right? Because I have a little bit here. We could have coordinated that push had he wanted to as well. I could have brought up a couple units of chasseurs, pushed into these woods there, and then basically do an attack across, either across that gap, or moving over more stuff into the woods to do a combined push on the top side of Delta as well, which might have led to a counter cap, right? Because if we hold these woods, we can sneak a command vehicle in, and all of a sudden +1 becomes +3. But there is another big bomber coming in, an Avia 28, and these guys, I love them. I think they're awesome. I mean, it's a single bomb, but it's such a nice bomb, and we can see that in action right now as this thing comes down. Fresh infantry in AMXs, and, well, fresh infantry no longer. So 2 of those dead. Probably not quite worth it, unless the Avia got out, which I don't think he did. But Hawk 51 is coming back around. Cart and Yakery now engaging in the woods on the eastern side as well, but LSTR are capitalizing on the temporary advantage here for East Germany, pushing through and killing my chasseurs with backup firepower, probably from the Finnish player. I don't think the East German player ever really quad-stacked things. We do have mortar fire coming in, trying to suppress those LSTR. It gets a good couple kills, right? So it took them from 13 to 9, and of course they will panic taking that fire as well, which is good. Chasseurs take out a couple vehicles, but it might not be enough. These guys, 14 AP is pretty common, I think anyway, for regular training line infantry, which is what these guys are. They're not even the fancier chasseurs with the better anti-tank weapons, which, I mean, I don't think it would have really served me that much to have them instead of having more regular chasseurs, but I do lose my command vehicle. Spotted by the LSTR, killed by the 24P, very annoying, and now we're at a stalemate with 18 minutes left, and I'm not feeling too confident as I'm starting to get pushed out of Foxtrot for good. So, smoking up this position here, I'm going to try to move my vehicles forward, maybe clear out this woods a little bit. Just when I'm getting pushed in the western side, I'll try and push in the east, I guess. And I'm also trying to bring in more infantry as quickly as I can on Vabs, to resecure, maybe not this side here, but at least a defensive position across this slight gap, which can often be really hard for vehicles to bridge, and once the vehicles are dead, the infantry won't really have too much luck crossing the open. We also have a cluster bomber coming in. Let's see if he does get out, and let's see what those can do. SPW-80 is going down, KPZ's panicked, stunned, mostly dead. Storm Pioneera also coming in, and my bomber did get out in time, but there is an answering bomber coming in, so a MiG coming in. AMX rolling 3, trying to get the kill on that KHS, and my allies Rafal, oh no, my own Rafal, takes out the bomber. So pretty decent for us there. KPZ still trying to cross that gap, but I think he was out of Sackless missiles on the 24P, that's why there wasn't answering fire there, and we do take him down, which is nice. And now we have Commando Marine and more Commando Marine and Legion coming to back up this position in the woods, so that crossing has failed. So he pushed me back, and it was very well done. I lost my command vehicle, but it wasn't quite enough to push me out of that position, and he lost most of the things he was using in the push as well, so it was kind of, I don't know if I'd say an even trade, but it certainly wasn't the one-sided sort of engagement that wins you advantage in the next fight. Serval is actually getting the last kill on those infantry, will never cease to amuse me, but now we do have some shenanigans going on, as well as France, well, as Lowing with the French, is moving probably a little bit too deep in these woods with those infantry, but just trying to get around, because if you can't go through, go around, I guess, and a Gazelle Celtic, forgetting that he doesn't have ATGMs, trying to go in and hit those Maddies. No, actually going after the Mi-8Ps. Also a seaplane coming in, and I lose my Roland 3 again, because my micro for radar AA was not great this time around. Generally you want to turn that off unless you have a spotted target, and I just didn't, so I deserve to lose that Roland 3. But spotting the Celtic has now had another unintended consequence where the Maddies are going into the woods. Not necessarily what I would do for it, and there is probably a better answer, which is a plane coming out, going after that Celtic. Although that's a little risky too, because you can lose them sometimes, but F-18C, as long as long enough range, it might not have been a threat. Of course, there is some answering fire from a Roland 3 here, but it's a relatively short-range anti-plane tool, so not going to be enough in that regard. And I lost a couple vehicles, but my Leclerc is fine, my AMX-40 is fine, and I'm just getting more scout tanks out with the AMX-10 RCs. At this point in the game, we have 15 minutes left, so I'm going to speed things up here a little bit, as this has been maybe not a slog, there's always something going on, but it has been a very long and very stressful game to be part of while it was going on, if I do say so myself. KPZ is moving forward, and I had forgotten about the remaining LSTR, but luckily there's only one of them left. Still will be a little bit of an issue, and he actually escapes, which bugged the hell out of me, because he kills 2 of my 15-point Vabs, and then just escapes, which was just a nuisance. But I was hoping those KPZs would get just a little bit closer. Let's see if the Legion 90 can do something about that. One hit, and if those had been put together, both of those KPZs would be dead. But as it is, that 12 frontal armor is just enough to save them in time for the second volley, which means that 6 of my Legion did fall. We do have eyes on the LSTR in the open, and I want them dead. Trying to do that, but, I mean, we'll have to get lucky here, and haven't been getting that too much so far this game. And sure enough, answering tank shots will make that not worthwhile. However, Mistrals are taking down, it looks like, well, took down one of those resupply helicopters. Let's see if they can get the other one, as the Legion now realize their mistake and try to move backwards, and my Mistrals did not get off a second shot, so a little bit disappointing there. And that's just when I noticed, I think, that they did need some resupply, and, well, men are made of bullets and oil in this game, so a little bit of repair as well. And sure enough, nothing has come through the center. So all that time ago when I said, I didn't really get the feeling that these guys would be rushing right down the pipe, I meant it. The Finnish player was the more aggressive of the two, that's for sure, and maybe not always to his own benefit. Bomber coming in here on the side, let's see what he can do, and down go my legions. I probably should have had them a little bit farther back from the edge of the woods, but the Finnish players seemed hell-bent on pushing France out on this side, probably because of the rightly perceived threat of France trying to get into the eastern side of Delta, but I don't really think that was ever too likely of an outcome, so questionable efficiency there. Vabs opening up on Kartanyekri, and that was interesting to see how long it took them to get the kill, because Kartanyekri don't have the best anti-tank weapons there. So Mirage Ficht coming in again, another cluster bomber just trying to clear out those KPZs. They are moving backwards, but I think we get, both of them there, so 110 points worth of kills off of that bomber, and no answering plane. So I have an Entendeur coming in as well, and this one, unfortunately, it looks like there were a bunch of radar AA pieces that weren't on the first time, but certainly did make it there for the second time around. Leclerc moving up, trying to kill this T-72M, and also the AMX-40, trying to make it to the next line of woods. But I think I'm very soon going to regret this. So whenever you move forward a big heavy tank like this, you should smoke the advance, and the reason for this is to avoid ATGM planes, because as nice as this looks like it's going, there comes an SU-22M4, and for 95 points, you can kill my 165 point tank with ease. So 1 shot, and 2 shots, down he goes. And we did get the, and this is the thing, I got the ATGM plane, but availability on those things is often high enough where that doesn't really matter all that much. And now there's a second one coming out to kill my AMX-40, and this probably won't be answered. No, actually it was by a Rafale. Let's see if I can get it. We did get him, so that's nice. But a MiG-29 913S coming in after my Rafale, and luckily for me, I did get out. So AV-28 coming in, and there's just been a stream of Roland 3 replacements moving in, plus the French have gotten into the back lines here, so Lowing has sort of gotten fully rounded into their base. VAB T-2013's opening up with those nice autocannons, and Legion heading right down the pipe. And this is an interesting bit of just geography fuckery, where the Matty didn't have shots on the Legion because of this slope, so they can't actually see each other, those units, right now. We have vision on them from the Vabs, but as far as those Matties are aware, there's nothing here. And, well, there very much is, and it's very, very deadly for them. 19 AP power is not something I would want going into the side or rear arc of a big tank like that. Of course, they're not the biggest of tanks, but they still are expensive enough that you wouldn't want to lose them like that. And down go 2 of the Matties. Let's see if we can get the other 2 as well. Of course, very fragile frontal armor, and starting to fight the Legion means that the Vabs have a good shot on the rear armor of the Matty, which, I mean, that's only, what, 2? So an autocannon could reasonably have taken down those T-55s. We also do spot their command vehicle in Echo, so that is marked with an attack marker there. I'm going to try and go after it soon, and let's see. Vabs are taken out by another 24P, and I swear, man, those 24Ps are just, there's just so many of them all the time. It's so annoying. There's another double squad headed over to handle the Legion, and to make matters worse, they will do it, right? So that's 60 points of Legion, and they're about to all get rocket potted to hell and back, or at least that's what I expected. Let's see what happens. Moving forward. Rocket pod range is tricky sometimes with line of sight stuff too. Like there's there's a maximum and a minimum range on those things, so yeah, single volley, down they go. Beautiful rocket pod work there, and I did lose my cluster bomber this time around going after that same area, trying to knock out their AA and a couple more tanks, which I think we did get them, but I can't quite find it right there. Also the 24 Ps moving forward, biting off a bit more than they can chew. Well, probably not, but Legion and Vab certainly making that an uncomfortable engagement, to say the least. So, Lowing has launched a beacon there as well. He's trying to go after that command vehicle in the back part of Delta, which I didn't realize at the time was a command tank. Lowing probably should have, because he had vision on it for long enough with those ATGMs and hit it a couple times, and it survived. So that would tell me, of course, that it was a command tank. If it was infantry, it wouldn't be targetable. If it was a lighter vehicle, it would have been dead, right? Unsun Dark coming in, and I have already killed this, and I told Lowing I'd already killed this. There was an answering round of artillery fire. Looks like they had a second command vehicle in Echo, which is why it never blipped to uncontrolled. I mean, reasonably good cautious play there, and down goes the Entendant. So, bombing run, he was proud that it made it through, which is admittedly funny. And I should be pushing in Foxtrot right now, but again, I've taken so many attritional losses this game. I'm trying to replace my tanks in the center to guard against something here. It was a little uncomfortable. However, I do briefly get vision on a Gaz Copa, so command vehicle in the back part of that zone, and I think that was from the Alouette of all things. I'm not really sure how I had such excellent vision that far away. I mean, the Alouette 3 has not very good optics, second best, I guess. Yeah, I usually play with helicopters that have good optics but carry a gun, so I was getting a little bit wider range recon than I'm really used to, which is certainly a nice thing. You can already see that the César has sent, a surprise gift on the way already. Let's see how it does, and there it goes. So that command vehicle is very well destroyed. Foxtrot, however, was still counter-capped, which confused the hell out of me, so I think they had a second command vehicle in Foxtrot as well, and I think what had happened, so during this game, the German player was complaining that he had to basically do everything himself. I think that meant that he just treated it like a single-player game. So he wanted Foxtrot capped, he put a command vehicle. He wanted Echo, he put a command vehicle. He wanted Delta, he put a command vehicle. So I think there were actually two at this point, probably in everything. I could flip to neutral, but I want to see the kills and deaths at the end of the game, so I'm not quite going to do that right now. We do also have, just insane amounts of helicopters this whole time, and now there's an air wing coming in, so bomber's probably a seaplane as well. The Roland 3 is finally off, and evac is ordered as my Rafale comes in to answer, along with my ally Lowing. So not able to close enough to get the shot off there, but my Roland 3 gets turned back on and does shoot, unfortunately spotted, and there's an ATGM headed on its way, so that was a little bit uncomfortable there, and I should have probably gone after him with artillery, but I don't think I do. In the meantime, finally moving up some recon special forces, as well as more infantry on the ground in VABs, and a VBL Mistral, and I'm going to try it again, because I am nothing if not completely inflexible and overly predictable in my tactics. Mirage 5S unfortunately being taken down by anti-air in those trees, and, well, now at least we'll be doing it with our own helicopters to see if that's equally annoying to my opponent. So I am calling out some Tigers and a Celtic to sort of ward off the helicopters there. Unfortunately, my AMX-40 is spotted, and I do realize that, but I'm not really sure what to do with them once that happens, because an easy ATGM kill would be pretty reasonably easy to do there. KPZ is taking a little bit of fire from my Crotal, well, not Crotal, oh, jeez, César, right, that's it. And a bomber comes in, down goes the AMX-40. So nice and easy response there from Red 4, and pretty safe as well, as my Rafale is going to be a little too late to answer. I think he was already out and circling, not quite sure, but we get one missile hit. It's not enough to take down the plane. So more artillery fire coming in, and I figured, even if they're not dead, it's just kind of funny, and it's a good thing for me to get free damage on these guys, so that's kind of nice. And there are still Commandos Para back here, actually a Mistral of all things, and a Chasseurs, a second wave, as it were, of French attack on Zone Echo, and things are starting to look even worse for our opponents, as now the Tiger Had's opening up, Puma Pirate's opening up as well, and we finally have Commandos Para on the ground, as well as I believe these are Legion 90 in the VABs, and I'm really thinking that this time I might be able to secure this side of the field. Tiger Hat opening up, and those Moat Schützen will not be able to hold for very long. Yeah, Rocket Pods, I think, killed them completely. MiGs coming in, and my Rafale was circling too far forward, so that should have been a kill. I should have lost my Rafale for sloppy play, and the fact that I didn't is not because I played well, it's because I got lucky. So, in the meantime, just more artillery fire coming in. We've nearly killed these KPZs with that, which is hilarious. But the T-55 Maddies are trying to fend off everything in these woods just by sitting there, and 405 points now on the board for Blue 4, as the Moat Schützen are taken up by Commando Marines, Puma Pirates, and Vabs moving up to clear out these woods as well. And yeah, I mean, the Puma Pirates are going to die to the Mi-24Ps, but that's okay with me, that's fine. I didn't really have good counterfire on the AA, and the reason for that is I fully expected it to be turned off and moved between volleys. Maybe I shouldn't have assumed that, could have gotten some kills there, but that at least explains the rationale. And, ooh, ATGM shot here, beautiful, down goes another Maddie. So things are just, I mean, the Finnish player I think was pretty much falling apart. So AV-28 Bomber coming out to answer is pretty nice, and I think it will, yeah. The ATGM team definitely does go down pretty quick, but I mean, at this point, they're beyond recovering. 4 minutes left in the match. We still have a +1. It's just a rough situation. There was enough infantry there, though, that it did slow me down for a little bit. So Commandos Para, we're going to head over into the far town, but they're moving back. Pretty good infantry killers here, not phenomenal, but, you know, shock training, good primary, good tertiary, and support from the Tigers will be pretty good. So we're taking out their command vehicles there, and I was able to force the Führungs UAZ to leave, so I wasn't able to kill him right away, but here comes the Commando Marines, down he goes, and that does secure us Foxtrot as well, and we actually forced Echo to move, which was hilarious. So for a second we had a +3, and this is probably going to finish off the match. So Anton Do's coming in, a little bit of bomber help from my ally here, maybe not necessary, but in the Commandos Para we're getting pretty hurt. Commando Marine fighting against Sturmpaniera and just generally being a nuisance in this part of the town, just like they had been in the earlier part of the game, and there's still a yeah, there goes the LSTR. So from all that time there's still LSTR. I don't know why they weren't resupplied by then, but I mean, that's kind of funny. Jaguar A comes in and gets a kill on a flat comm, but does take some answering fire. Luckily didn't get him, but that was more luck than skill. And yeah, I mean, Lowing even has enough points to try and push into that side of Delta. So that's all we've got. Let's forward through to get to the kills and losses. And okay, so we have Blue 4, 5,715 against Red 4's 5,025. So my own kills, 3,200 versus 2,400 losses, pretty good. Lowing, pretty even. He has a tendency to throw things forward and just hope the best happens, but hey, it worked out here pretty well, and if he hadn't been doing that, I definitely would have been overwhelmed in the western side of the match. Sorry, western side of the map earlier on in the match. So that's all we've got. So no real standout units except for maybe the Cesar. Got some very nice kills, including 2 command vehicles. Mirage Fix, yeah, okay. This was the couple of tank kills, as well as some transports. Rafales always do well. Leclerc did okay. Oh no, not really. That's a 55-point kill, and he died. AMX-10 RC actually kind of impressed me. Well, that's all we've got for today. Thank you all for hanging around. See you again real soon.